Testing. 1, 2.
Hello.
Hey, AJ.
How are you?
Good. I'm ready to start whenever you are.
Sure. And should we do vocal warm-ups?
I just remember the one from High School Musical. Maybe I shouldn't.
Nah.
I don't like the way my SM58 sounds right now, but it's all I don't care enough to fix it, so I'm gonna go ahead and just use this.
My voice is really tired, so it's just gonna sound bad regardless.
All right, we'll just let's just jump into this. So, this is our post-Oscar podcast. Yesterday was the Oscars, and did you watch the whole thing?
I did.
I don't know why you would want to, but you have watched the whole thing.
I'm a masochist. What can I say?
I feel sorry for you. I watched some of it by proxy as it's after it happened.
No, I mean, generally I super enjoy watching the Oscars. I think this year was just boring because it was really predictable and nothing exciting really happened in the broadcast. So it was just kind of watching the nominees I expected to win.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
I mean, yeah, there really weren't any huge surprises to speak of.
You want to go through the lists like from the bottom to Best Picture, or how do you want to do this?
Well, yeah, we can do that. I feel like I watched every nominated movie, but I had to draw the line, so I didn't watch any of the shorts because those are really hard to find usually.
I'll tell you what. If you were still in Chicago, like all the art house theaters are still playing them.
Yeah, there were a few theaters within like 3 hours away from me. You know, I'm so like Charlotte, and
I was gonna say Charlottesville,
Richmond also, I think.
Nice.
Had a bad one, but not really one close. And you know, I just couldn't find the time to go out and watch something. And then foreign language films, I didn't see any of those, which I'm disappointed about because I usually do. But like I said, I was running out of time and I had to draw the line somewhere.
Sure. I mean, there were a lot of the Best Picture winners I didn't bother to see. Like I don't think I saw like Don't Call Me by Your Name, or there were a couple like that I didn't see. But what's that?
You missed some of the big ones.
I don't know. I guess I did, but I meant we did go out of our way to see Phantom Thread before everyone else did. So
that's true.
We saw it at the Music Box in Chicago when it was running during its 70mm run, which was a very fun experience.
Oh, beautiful. With the organist before the production. It was great.
Yeah, and in additional shout-outs, I'm also drinking Tivana tea right now, which is I'm not going to get in trouble for because Tivana just went out of business.
Sponsor me.
Oh, I can't get... Well, they can now because they no longer exist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Starbucks closed them all down.
Oh.
Those jerks.
When did that happen?
They closed like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I don't really keep up with my Starbucks current events.
Well, Starbucks is fine, but they just closed down their tea branch.
Well, yeah.
Which is the real tragedy for me.
I don't think Starbucks is going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, there's too many white.
Are you not a coffee guy?
Oh, I love coffee, but I drink both. I'm not like Tom. I will drink. I drink coffee to survive, and tea is for fun.
Yeah, that is exactly where I was going. Tom is very outspoken for his herbals.
We need to do a podcast of just things that he has controversial opinions on.
Do you have 8 days?
Yeah, but let's earn my fame with controversy. I love this idea.
Well, he's your guy.
Anyway.
I'm the guy you bring in to calm him down.
Right.
I have no controversial opinions. I'm the peacemaker.
I guess we bounce off occasionally, but
Well, yeah, but that's just because you're wrong.
I'm laughing because I'm not. Anyway, I have the list brought up next to me on the Birth Movies Death website, so we'll start with the technical awards and kind of move up the list because they have it in reverse order. So,
yeah, it's fine with me.
I mean, I'll just be honest. I despise technical awards at the Oscars because I know they're always wrong.
No.
It always goes to the showiest thing.
Yes, but it's tough because like
talking to your phone, I'm having trouble hearing you.
No, everybody knows that the best editing is editing you don't notice. That's just a common mantra.
Yeah. Therein lies the problem.
Right.
And the Oscar committee aren't technicians per se.
No. Well, it's made up of members of tons of different fields, and the nominees are nominated from the specific field. So the editors nominate the 5 best editing nominees,
I don't
forth.
think that's true, though. I think it's a general vote across the board.
For after the nominees are nominated, then the Academy votes on it as a whole.
Well, here's the thing. The Academy isn't like a small group of people. It's thousands of people across the country. A couple of my professors at Tribeca were members of the Academy.
Tribeca?
Yeah, and
you went to Tribeca?
Tribeca Flashpoint in downtown Chicago.
Wow. The more you know.
I
promise I listen when you talk.
No, it's fine. But the thing about the Oscar committee is that I don't think there's any sort of exclusivity in terms of... I could be wrong on this. I don't think there's any exclusivity in terms of who votes on what subject. I think it's just general voting across on everything. So you could be a lifelong sound mixer and you're voting on everything.
Yes, that's true once the nominees are picked. Once the 24 categories are picked, then everybody gets a shot to vote on their favorite. But the nominees are chosen from the people of the specific fields, I believe.
But there's also bias to the fact that it's difficult to get nominated into the Oscars selection to begin with. So there's like multiple levels of the problem.
Yes.
There's the politics of getting a nomination.
It's an overly complicated process. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, I think the distributors are the ones that have to put the film up for availability too.
That wouldn't surprise me. And, of course, millions of dollars goes into campaigning just for the Oscars, let alone the other award ceremonies.
Yeah.
Because if you can get the, Oscars slapped on your DVD cover, then they just sell you another DVD.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine how many copies of all the movies that won are gonna sell now. Or
Blu-ray. I guess I should call it Blu-ray.
I think DVD is still the preferred version.
You think?
Well, here's the thing. I love Blu-ray because it's the superior of the two, but I think Blu-ray is already starting to get supplanted by digital, even though I don't like it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to hit
you're a hunter-gatherer.
Yeah, I think we're rapidly reaching the point where everyone's just going to start using digital.
I think, yeah. Because where can you go from that? Implanting it directly into your brain?
Well, it's clear that the physical media, they're trying to push 4K.
Yeah, that didn't last long.
They're still trying. God bless their souls, but they're not going to get very far with it.
Well, I'm a Laserdisc man myself.
Yes, you are.
So
fun piece of trivia.
I don't know these new trends.
Fun piece of trivia for Fox Valley Film Critics. When we did the Sound of Music episode, we watched it on Laserdisc.
And I believe we had the Laserdisc that episode.
Did you bring the disc with you? I don't remember. Believe it or not,
the infamous Sound of Music Singing in the Rain episode.
Believe it or not, this show isn't an ego trip for me, so I don't go back and listen to myself very often.
Oh, I do constantly. I listen to you. I skip past the parts I'm in. I just listen to you.
I mean, I'm afraid I'm going to go back in one of those episodes and realize there's a horrifying editing mistake on them, so...
Nah. And, yeah, it's not.
Because I'm no longer the editor on them, so nowadays, like, whenever I get them, they just go straight online. Like, I just realized the last episode of the podcast, there was a glaring audio glitch that was extremely severe, and no one had bothered to tell me, even though it had 20 views. So
was it the movie or like cutting in?
Oh, the audio. The audio. For some reason, when I didn't edit the video feed right on it when I was exporting it, so the theme song kept playing whenever the like every time the video footage cycled. So you just hear that.
Yeah, I think I did notice that. Because every now and then I'll jump around and listen to the bits that made me laugh. But
yeah, so I fixed that and re-released it, but it lost a lot of its views because of it, which I was sad about. But
well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's fine. But anyway, here's the
Oscars.
We'll blast through the technical Oscars real quick because unless you have something specific you want to say. So
only for a couple of them, I think.
Sound mixing and sound editing go to Dunkirk, uncontroversial. Documentary feature goes to Icarus, which I have not seen, so I can't speak to it. Makeup and hairstyling to Darkest Hour, which makes a lot of sense. Best costume design, Phantom Thread, which is kind of a shame that that's the only thing it won, but I guess that makes sense.
Also, that makes probably the most sense.
Yeah.
Phantom Thread winning for costume design, that's basically what it's about.
Good point. But yeah, cinematography, Blade Runner 2049. I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm glad it won something.
Oh, but Deakins, it's his first win.
Is that his first win?
His first win in 14 nominations.
How has he not won by now? That is so weird.
This is one of life's many mysteries.
You see, this is why I don't listen. This is why I don't watch the Oscars during its live stream. But and production design to The Shape of Water.
So yeah, unsurprising, most of those.
I will
sound.
say,
I think I wish Baby Driver had won sound or editing.
I don't know if I would give it to Baby Driver.
Editing, I would.
I mean, in my Baby Driver is kind of a showy movie. That's my only problem with it, is a sound design perspective. Like, sound design as an art form, you generally go to the thing that's quieter and like much more detail oriented than the thing that's showy. So I don't know if I would go with Baby Driver on that one. I'd say Dunkirk was probably better. Huh?
I might agree with you for sound for Baby Driver, but I think editing wise, it's the most exciting.
Oh, for visual editing, I would probably agree with you on that.
Yeah, and that's more what I would campaign for.
Any Edgar Wright movie should get like best editing.
Does he edit them himself, or does he hire an editor and then hover?
He's obviously hovering in the studio when it's happening, because
right, and he obviously directs to edit. He's brilliant at that.
They obviously plan those things meticulously, so it's not like he's not part of the process. Like, I know that there are directors like Steven Soderbergh who will edit their own movies, but that's pretty rare.
No, that's true. And PTA does the cinematography for his movies, I believe.
He did it for the last one, but that was only because his preferred cinematographer wasn't around.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so moving on. Best score goes to Shape of Water again. Oh, I wanted to mention on Shape of Water, that movie had a quarter of the budget of Deadpool, a movie that was famous for having a low budget, and it looks 10 times better.
You're not wrong. Although I don't know why Deadpool got so famous for being low budget. It still had millions of dollars going into it.
It had an $80 million budget, but by superhero movie standards, that's pretty low.
Right, but
it's why
you
that
don't
movie
really
had
need it for...
It's why that movie had such few locations.
Which nobody's really complaining about. Nobody was like, oh, we need Deadpool to travel the world.
No, but I would have liked somewhere more visually interesting than a highway in Toronto and then a junkyard.
That was an amazing action set piece, though, the highway.
Oh, sure, but it's obvious that it wasn't that expensive to rent a highway.
True, but they made it work.
Yeah, and then with Shape of Water, you could tell that, like, if you watch the film, there's only, like, 4 or 5 sets, like in total. You can tell they shot most of it on a soundstage, and most of it was on the same few sets, so there wasn't a lot of like setups they were using. So any young filmmaker, if you want a lesson in resource management, watch Shape of Water.
Well, I mean, Guillermo del Toro is a master of just taking a small budget and making the most beautiful, visually interesting.
Careful, you're talking, and you're kind of dissipating.
Say again?
I can't hear you well.
Are you? Am I?
Yeah, you're
still
back.
cutting out?
You're good. You're good.
Okay.
So
I
moving
was
on.
just saying that.
Yeah.
Well, just real quick, if it didn't catch it, I was saying that Guillermo del Toro is a master of taking a small budget and making the most visually interesting thing he can out of that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's made a couple really excellent masterpieces like Pan's Labyrinth, but I've always kind of skirted on more the stupider films he's made like Hellboy and Pacific Rim. So.
And Blade 2, of course.
Oh well, I'm not a huge Blade fan. Like I like the first one.
I'm really not either. Honestly, Blade Trinity is my favorite, and that's one of the worst movies ever.
Fun fact: directed by David Goyer, who was the scribe of the Dark Knight trilogy.
Wow.
Oh, and fun fact:
somebody moved up in the world.
He hates superhero movies.
I wonder why.
Yeah, he doesn't like them, so he just does them whenever he gets contracted to do them. He'll find a gritty way to do it.
Well, he
hasn't done one since Man of Steel, so.
Well, there's probably a reason for that.
Anyway, so moving on, we got documentary short. Heaven is a traffic jam on the 405. I don't know anything about it. Live action short.
Yeah. I know nothing about any of these shorts.
The Silent Child, animated short, Dear Basketball, film editing, Dunkirk. Once again, I don't know if I would agree on that one because it was a structurally bizarre movie, but maybe I don't know.
That's very Nolan-esque. That's his style.
Well, yeah, Nolan-esque, but it might have. I would like to see a version of it where we didn't have to have that style, where it was a little more clear how the structure of the plot fit together. But it might not have worked.
It was unnecessary, but it was interesting enough.
It's also possible it might not have worked as well. That's possible too. But
had you seen any of the documentaries that were nominated?
No. Like here's the thing. I'm really bad at watching documentaries. Like
really?
90% of the time, if I'm watching a documentary, it's something ridiculously specific to something I like. Like,
Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo, yeah. I've got. I'm looking over at my shelf because I've got a lot of them over next to me. Buster Keaton Rides Again, The Death of Superman Lives, directed by John Ford, Exit Through the Gift Shop, Hearts of Darkness, Kingdom of Dreams and Madness, People vs. George Lucas, Room 237. That's kind of all of them. Like there were a couple I was looking at on like Amazon. Next time I order a bunch of stuff, like I want to get a copy of Best of Enemies, which I really like. But like there aren't that many documentaries I seek out anymore.
A lot of the ones that are nominated are very heavy hitting and can be hard to watch at times.
Did they get theatrical releases?
I believe to get nominated, they all did. Although Icarus was a Netflix. So I don't really know how the Academy is handling Netflix.
I don't know how they handle the documentaries because I don't see them in theaters.
It might be the festival circuit that they go off of.
90% of the time, if I see like a documentary listed in a movie theater, it's one of those like stupidly large event movies like Hillary's America, Learn the Truth, or
or
Learn the History of it. Like Area 51, Learn the History, or it's always either like something
type of Michael Mann.
It's either overtly political or like something that Fathom Events is just like putting out for one day, and I'm like I don't go out of my way to seek those out really. But otherwise,
did I say Michael Mann? I think I said Michael Mann. I mean Michael Moore.
Oh, yeah, Michael Moore. Yeah. His documentaries, they all get like art house releases.
Yeah, well, and they're pretty hugely popular too for some reason.
Yeah. Well, anyway, visual effects.
Going back real quick to visual effects, or had we talked about that yet?
No, Blade Runner 2049.
Blade Runner 2049 won. Beautiful, excellent. Should have gone to war for the Planet of the Apes. Here's the reason. Although Blade Runner 2049, I think, is probably a more visually interesting movie, and for all intents and purposes, should have won the award. Neither Rise of the Planet of the Apes or Dawn won Best Visual Effects, and that is one of the most revolutionary franchises in terms of motion capture and visual effects. So I think, like the Oscars like to do, I'm shocked and a little disappointed that they didn't give it to War for the Planet of the Apes just for the legacy.
I tell you, man, it always goes to the showy one.
Unless there's a story behind it.
Oh, well, yeah, this is like a...
Oscars love a narrative,
yeah.
Leo or Roger Deakins.
He ate a fish to gain our attention. How quaint. You see, this is why I hate the Oscars.
Blade Runner 2049 is very deserving.
I mean, yeah, Blade Runners, I like Blade Runner a lot. It's very good. I don't know if the first one, I don't know how well the first Blade Runner did, so that's cool that this one did well, but like
82 was a landmark year for sci-fi.
Sure. Well, yeah. Well,
so I don't know how it stacked up.
Yeah. So, animated feature goes to Coco in the least shocking decision of the year.
Although, shout out to Loving Vincent, because that is just still one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen.
I haven't watched it yet. I got a copy reserved at the libriary for me as soon as I can get it, but I want to see it because, like, even
the plot itself is mediocre at best, but it's worth it just for the visuals.
I mean, yeah, obviously it's style over substance, but that's such a cool style. Like, if you don't know anything about it, it's all, every frame is painted like painted in the style of a Van Gogh painting.
Hand painted, yeah.
Which I love. Like, I haven't even seen it yet, and I know I'm gonna enjoy watching it because that sounds like such an out there idea.
Absolutely.
But the Oscar committee doesn't watch animated films because they're for children. Why would I watch one of those?
But Coco's Pixar, and everybody sees Pixar.
Well,
so
here's how it works.
That's the one that gets picked.
All the Oscar committee are elderly old men. Like, so they watch the Pixar film with their grandkids on Christmas, and it's like, I saw that Pixar one. It was pretty good.
That's the stereotype, and I think for a while that may have been largely true. But the Oscars have recently added a lot of members to try to rectify that stereotype of old white men.
Guilt. They feel guilty.
Yeah, well, they may have reason to.
Hashtag Oscars so white. Remember when 12 Years a Slave won and then everyone forgot about it?
By the next year, yeah.
Yeah, literally the next year, hashtag Oscars so white.
I think it was 2 years after, but
no,
regardless.
there was like buzzes of it back in 2014.
Oh, probably. There's buzzes of it every year.
Yeah, because we have the memory of goldfish, evidently, so.
Sad but true. Oh, and shout out to Kobe Bryant, as if he hasn't gotten enough accolades. Now has an Oscar for Dear Basketball, the animated short.
Okay. Best foreign language film, A Fantastic Woman. I don't know anything about it. I just know it's playing at the Music Box right now, but...
Yeah, I remember seeing an advertisement for it when we saw Phantom Thread.
Okay. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, I haven't seen Phantom Thread. Yeah, I've seen Phantom Thread. I was thinking of 3 Billboards for a second there.
Oh, no.
Which I've heard
not
weirdly inconsistent things about Three Billboards.
Have you not seen it yet?
No, I didn't want to.
Okay.
Like, I generally avoid Oscar bait unless I have to see it. Which, I guess in this case...
Oh, I wouldn't call this Oscar bait at all, actually. It's Martin McDonagh.
It's the perfect Oscar film because everyone that wants it to be like a progressive film was mad at it for not being progressive enough, and everyone that wasn't progressive was mad at it for being progressive. So it's like it's not one of those films where it's making everyone a little bit mad.
Well, the thing it does is it introduces a lot of topics to be discussed.
Okay. Hey, AJ? Oh, no, I can't hear him right now. I'm checking. I'm going with just the cord, see if something's wrong.
Hello?
You good?
I can hear you just fine.
Were you? I lost you there for a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
I hope we don't have to be doing this a lot.
No. We're in the final stretch of this, and then we can kind of talk about like upcoming movies and stuff. But yeah,
I didn't see any of the foreign language, so I can't really speak to that.
So yeah, best adapted screenplay was Call Me by Your Name. Best original screenplay was Get Out.
Heck yeah, my favorite movie of the year.
Best supporting actress goes to Allison Janney of I, Tonya.
No surprise there.
Best supporting actor goes to Sam Rockwell of Three Billboards, which I'm happy for him. He's deserved an Oscar.
True. Although I still think Woody Harrelson was better in the movie. Sam Rockwell just had a showier part.
Well, I think that the Oscar committee likes to give like posthumous awards. Like, they'll go back and watch your old movies and be like, "Oh, we should have given him an Oscar for that." So they'll just give him an Oscar like for later roles. Like how they gave John Wayne an award for True Grit, even though he should have won one for like The Searchers or something like that.
Right.
Or like Leonardo DiCaprio, of course.
Of course.
And Gary Oldman, as it turns out. So.
Well,
who won for Darkest Hour?
Couldn't be more deserved, though. He was absolutely the standout of the.
I don't know.
I think he was the best performance of the year.
There were a lot of good performances this year, though.
There were, but he still stands head and shoulders above everyone else. He disappears.
I mean, I love Darkest Hour. I just didn't know if it was that clear to me. Like, but I'm glad he won. I'm always happy if someone wins if they haven't gotten their due before.
Sure.
Then the best supporting actress goes to Frances McDormand from Three Billboards. So, yay.
Excellent.
I don't know if she'd won any awards before for her Coen Brother movies or not, but I'm glad she's got that.
She won for Fargo,
which I'm not surprised about.
No.
Anyway,
she's deserving then as well.
So, and then we're down to the final two. So, best director and best picture go to The Shape of Water.
I definitely expected Guillermo to win. I think he was the odds-on favorite for most of the award season, but I thought Best Picture was wide open.
But I didn't know who was. I wasn't sure about Best Director, but I thought Best Picture was either going to go to either Get Out or Three Billboards. I was kind of surprised.
Honestly, I could have seen it going to. I think Shape of Water was definitely a front runner. Call Me by Your Name could have won. Get Out could have won. Post could have won even, I think, and Three Billboards. Yeah,
I would not have guessed the Post. That would have been an upset as far as I'm concerned. But
it hits a lot of traditional Oscar fare.
Of course, but I don't think. I think it got nominated almost out of obligation.
Sure, and this really wasn't the year for a traditional choice.
No, we have to. The Oscars have to be ahead of the crowd.
Well.
It's why they did like nothing but political grandstanding the entire time.
They pretend to be ahead of the crowd while in actuality being far behind the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want this to be like a diatribe on like Hollywood morality or not, but you know, they're all going to go home and they're all going to sniff their cocaine. They're all going to be doing the back to being as bad as they were tomorrow. So,
well, that is quite a generalization.
It's Hollywood. It doesn't get better.
No, it's true. I mean, this is, for lack of a better term, the biggest circle jerk in in America.
And you gotta, I was just like thinking yesterday, like, because I was listening to Woody Allen's sitcom recordings, or not sitcoms, stand-up recordings over the weekend, and it got me into this weird like mood where I was thinking a lot about like artist integrity and like how much you can enjoy of someone who's done bad things, and like I don't know like the full like validity of the claims against someone like Woody Allen or someone like Roman Polanski.
Like,
well, Roman Polanski's obviously, he did the things, but like I legitimately love like all of Woody Allen's movies, so it's really hard for me to be like I don't want to not support him because he's one of my favorite artists, but if he actually did what he's accused of doing, that's terrible. And
well, this was the debate when the whole Bill Cosby fiasco went down,
which I think that was tremendous loss. Like I think we lost, like the loss of the Cosby Show was a huge loss to culture.
But why do we have to lose it? Why do we have to retroactively erase everything he was a part of? Yes, maybe we should look at it in a different light, but I think we can still get the positives out that were intended to be put out.
Well, the conspiratorial part of my brain is just like, we gotta kill the Cosby Show. We can't have this kind of thing around anymore. But like, obviously, we don't want to go into Alex Jones mode where it's just like we have to destroy. They're out to destroy the culture. But like,
right. But with that and with that type of thinking, you just destroy all the bad parts of history, and you're doomed to repeat it.
And you think of the cultural importance of something like the Cosby Show, like that vision of being able to bring, like I'm trying to put that, like, say out of phrases, but I was thinking about the Cosby issue a lot too recently, alongside the Allen thing, because like you think 1980s. 20 years after the Civil Rights Movement, and television is just being flooded with like shows like The Cosby Show and Family Matters and Fresh Prince, and it's like that's awesome that would so quickly after the Civil Rights Movement, like television was catching up that quickly. And you think that like something that was like that important at the time is just gone now. It's just like because of what one guy did. Is like, that's tragic.
No, I agree. I still don't think it's gone.
I think whatever progress the Cosby Show would have had it's been wiped out at this point. Like, no one is ever going to buy a copy of the Cosby Show on DVD again.
I don't know about that, but I was thinking even his stand-up and his philanthropic work. That's, I think, still stands as, yes, he is a despicable human being. He did horrendous acts. He's still one of the funniest stand-ups of all time, and I can't take that away from him.
Yeah, I mean,
and also, he did so much for the African-American community and for humanity in general in his prime. With his, he started a lot of organizations to better society. And I think we can still appreciate that part of him while still condemning the detestable parts.
Well, to tie it back to what I was trying to, we kind of got tangential, but what I was saying is, like, when it comes to all these people in Hollywood, we know about Harvey Weinstein now. We don't know about, like, all the other people that are doing it. And it's obvious that there's probably, like, hundreds of people that are doing what he is doing. And we don't know them. And the horrifying prospect to me is, what's going to happen if it turns out that 100 years from now we start seeing evidence that, like, other great filmmakers who are dead turned out to be this way. Like I know people have accused Hitchcock of being abusive. I can only imagine like all of like how many of the great directors might have had this kind of dark like history that we don't know, that gets uncovered after the fact. Like I mean, even recently, like people have been like going after Tarantino on random stuff. Like I don't think there's anything that could like destroy his legacy yet, but imagine if we lost like all of Tarantino's filmography because he did one really bad thing.
But I still hear you saying that we lose it if
we can. It's happened before.
I don't think so.
We lost
I think
the entire filmography of Fatty Arbuckle is lost to history because he was accused of sexually assaulting a woman, even though he was exonerated of it.
I mean, is that really a huge loss?
Just to one of the largest stars of the silent film era?
Who was it you said?
Fatty Arbuckle. He was on par with Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, essentially.
Well, I think if it really stood up, then I think it would have lasted.
He was exonerated, but his reputation was destroyed.
But you think of like Douglas Fairbanks was a notorious womanizer. Had like I don't know how many STDs reportedly, and
all of them.
Yeah, his movies still live on. So I think if your art will outlive you, regardless of your legacy. If it's supplanted in the public consciousness enough.
I mean, that kind of ties into like a great point from Orson Welles' F for Fake, that if you look at a piece of architecture, you don't know the name of the architecture, but you know that it's there. Like
exactly.
But it's still one of those things where, especially in the age of information, where everything is categorized on the internet now, it's going to be way harder to preserve art against the reputation of the artist.
But I think,
especially if we do end up in a nightmare scenario where like the floodgate opens up and like every dirty secret in Hollywood comes out. Like imagine that scenario.
I don't know if that's a nightmare. I think
it's a nightmare scenario for Hollywood. It's a nightmare scenario for the people that are running the business.
But if we can weed out those horrible people, then I think
it's possible there is not going to be enough people
of
left.
A couple of movies, then I'd rather, in the broad scope of things, I'd rather there be no more Hollywood than to have these human beings, male or female, running around scot-free. Yeah. I'd rather protect these people that are coming forward and acknowledge them than go see a movie. I think that's more important.
That's very.
And
honorable.
I'm far from an activist. I honestly really don't like when people jump on the bandwagon for stuff like this. But if we're talking about the safety of human beings or a $10 movie, it's really no question for me.
Yeah, obviously. And
real quick, going back to the Cosby Show, I think that show is largely already being forgotten by the newer generation. There's not a lot of people that were going back to it anyways. So this was just kind of the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that people remember Urkel more than they remember Bill Cosby at the moment. So
it's true,
which is very sad.
But I grew up with his stand-up, and that's still going to make me laugh regardless of what he's done.
Yeah.
Just like the movies of Hitchcock are going to stand up regardless of what he's done.
I mean, Hitchcock was at least smart enough to acknowledge the fact that he was a womanizer in Vertigo, so...
Yeah, no, he was... I'm sure he did a lot of detestable things. Like,
yeah.
it kind of... Never mind, I won't. I was going to throw somebody else under the bus, but he hasn't been, to my knowledge, hasn't been accused of anything, but it wouldn't surprise me. No, I won't do that.
All right.
I don't want to spread rumors.
Fair point. Anyway.
Anyways, that was a decent rabbit trail.
That was distressing movie talk with Tyler and AJ. So, I guess we can move on to something a little bit more lighthearted, like upcoming movies.
All right, let me get my box office mojo out here. I know Ready Player One is probably the biggest release coming up this month.
I just finished reading the
Wrinkle in Time.
I just finished reading the audiobook of it.
Oh, I just finished the actual book a couple weeks ago.
Yours is probably the superior version. The audiobook is read by Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton?
Yes. Ugh.
That's not a horrible choice.
His biggest thing of the last 10 years is being a co-star on Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, that's true. But, I mean, I don't care how famous the person is as long as they do a good job.
How good do you think the book was?
I thought it was very entertaining. The trailers look very dissimilar, so I'm worried about that. And also, the whole concept is a bit troubling to me. Just glorifying the
escapism,
turning off of reality.
Well, that's the
escapism.
Thing, though.
Yeah,
I think the book, you can tell the book is setting up a scenario where it's trying to it should be going after the concept of escapism, but it doesn't really fulfill that all that much. Like the book, you can tell the world's on the brink of chaos. Is like humanity will be dead in a few generations, but we're playing video games. Like I thought that was
hoping. You're right, and I was hoping it would kind of turn more into a satire of what we're doing now. You know, the world is slowly dying, and
the world's on
we're
fire,
as addicted to the internet as the characters in the book are to the Oasis.
Yeah, we're having conversations about if the Star Wars The Last Jedi was the best or the worst Star Wars movie ever, and like half of the Middle East is burning, and Africa is starving, and Europe is having riots, and America is bifurcating at a rapid rate, and
exactly. And I was hoping the book
on the brink of collapse. And
I was hoping the book would kind of hold up a mirror to that a little more than it did.
Here's the thing: they would have had to have made Halliday a much more antagonistic character than they did. The book doesn't really. It sets up a really cool concept I think they could have gone down, but they don't really do it anyway.
Right. It hints at it, but does nothing with it.
Like, I think it... So, here's... this isn't a spoiler because it's not what happens in the book. I thought that they should have revealed that Halliday had killed his partner's wife. Like, there's a scene... It's briefly mentioned that Halliday's partner's...
Yes. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Halliday's partner's wife dies. I think that the twist of the book should have been that Halliday had killed his wife, because then it would have set up the idea that the guy who's feeding escapism and 80s nostalgia and video game addiction... I'm back. Sorry about that. My phone just died. Or my battery, the card on my SD card filled up, so I had to change it out on the H6.
Okay.
But yeah, as I was saying, I thought that, like, you heard everything I said about Halliday, right?
Yes.
Do you think that would have been a better version of it?
I don't think it would have made sense. I think if you wanted to villainize him, you could have done it in a different way.
Well, the problem is they set up an antagonism between him and his partner early in the novel. So if they should have paid that off. Like, that's what it felt like it was building towards from where I was sitting.
I think I don't know if I felt like it was building towards anything. I think he was just trying to make a parallel between that story and then the obvious Jobs and Wozniak split.
I guess. Like, I think that they should have taken it, like, to a really dark place. Like, they should have made it clear that Holiday was, like, poisoning the world and making things worse. Instead, it just turns into this protracted net neutrality metaphor, which I don't think was exactly necessarily the right direction, but...
I agree that it would have maybe been more interesting if you saw how destructive the Oasis was. I just don't think that killing his partner's wife would have been the right way to go about that, because in that whole setup, I don't think it would have made sense. I understand what you're saying. But
then
like,
Og shows up at the
jealousy,
end of the book,
but...
and he has like no resentments towards his former partner, and I'm like, what the heck?
I think what would have made more sense would be killing his partner, and then his partner's wife rejecting him, and that turns him even more bitter. Well,
you still need Og around to be like the voice of, because he's set up as a character who's supposed to be there to be like the counter of what should be happening in the universe. So he's just like, the media sucks, the world is dying, no one's doing anything, the Oasis is bad. Like that's literally his first interview. We see him in the book. So
right.
That should be paid off. Instead, he's all like, I miss Halliday. He was a good friend. Like, what the heck? But yeah, that's really my only thing about Ready Player One, is that it doesn't really pay off its themes. It needed to go way darker.
I think he chose not to. I think because the author is such a proud nerd, I don't think he wanted to condemn his own kind. I actually thought he was a poser for a little bit. And then again, it might have been the fact that Will Wheaton was reading it, but I was just like, I feel like I'm drowning in an ocean of 80s references. This book makes me literally nauseous towards the 80s. I will, trust me, I am as nostalgic as they get, and I got a little bit overwhelmed. Which is it's a bit much. It's kind of the point, because now we still have this 80s nostalgia, and I'm like, absolutely. Which I think maybe there is a point to the book that it's not healthy, that it's not good for you to be this nostalgic for just this age that's supposed to be like. But it doesn't go all the way for that. If that was its point, it should have made that clear. It just barely touched on it, and then did nothing with it. That was my issue with it. Okay, so it could have made so many better points. Quick spoiler discussion. So we're just gonna make this like one sentence, and you can follow it up real quick. So if you want to mute it, you're gonna mute it for like a minute, and then we'll come back. I like the fact that the book ends with the catalyst destroying like half the Oasis. I don't know why they didn't like take that to its logical conclusion. I mean, that's just their avatar starting back at level 1. But that's like massive, huge deal in that universe. For some of them. But the Oasis is everything. That's like 90% of the wealth of that economy just destroyed. True. However, if you think that the hunt for the egg, then the oologists, once that's over, the levels don't really matter as much anymore. But they're also losing all their items and money. Their items, yes. I think they still have their currency still transfers over if they want it to. Well, one way or the other, he should have pressed the big button at the end. Like that's the perfect example of how they could have gone with like the ultra dark ending. Is like this button allows you to end it all, and then he just walks away. I don't know. The ending to this book is terrible. I'm sorry, it is. It was very anticlimactic, and it was very quickly wrapped into a neat, tidy little bow. Okay, and that didn't sit well with me. End of spoiler discussion, but yeah, that's the end of our spoiler Ready Player One discussion. I'm just glad I had someone to talk with it about. But yes, overall, very imaginative, super exciting. I need to read. I look forward to see what Spielberg's going to do with it. I suspect he's probably going to divert substantially. Yes, and that troubles me.
Well,
but because it's Spielberg, I'm not as worried as I would be.
Well, here's the thing. I think that that's a good thing because we just talked about how the book doesn't take its themes all the way. If he does that, then I think that would be the logical place.
Judging by the trailers, I don't think that's the way he's going.
I don't know. Like, if he actually would go all the way into like an ultra dark ending, like I would say that would be like I'm gonna call Ready Player One like Spielberg's last blockbuster. Because if he actually were to go into that whole way and like just do like an ultra dark ending where it's like, this is like the full fruition of my entire career of 80s nostalgia and action movies and blockbusters poisoning the world, and now I feel like I have to be responsible by blowing it all up. Like, that would be like the ultimate statement about him looking back on his career and regretting it.
But can you really imagine Spielberg doing that? There's no way.
I can't imagine him doing that and then immediately turning around and making Indiana Jones 5, but...
Yeah, that's so against type for Spielberg. It's just, there's no way that's going to happen.
It would kind of make sense, though, because all of his recent good films have been that, like, kind of stuffy moralist movies. Like, he doesn't make a lot of great blockbusters anymore.
I think that's just because his interests have switched in his old age.
Yeah, and I just wonder if that's the degree, if he would actually make that kind of statement with the Ready Player One movie. Like, but I think that would be intensely
you're
fascinating. You're
assuming that he regrets the majority of his career.
I think to a degree he does. Like, I think one of the parts of being like an older filmmaker is you look back on your career and be like, I wouldn't make movies that violent now. Like, if he, like George Miller and Scorsese are still doing that into their 70s. I don't think, and
they're still crushing it.
Yeah, I don't think Spielberg shares that bloodlust at his current age.
Spielberg has never had bloodlust.
Have you seen Temple of Doom?
Well, I was gonna say Jaws, but
he had it when he was younger. He just doesn't have it now.
No. A sense of adventure is different than a bloodlust.
Well, there's a lot of like a casual violence and cruelty in his old movies.
I think that was a different culture, and yeah, I think that was when he was younger. But to change your mindset on something and to regret where you were at that moment, I think are two very different things.
That's what I'm curious about. Like, I'm curious why he would make a Ready Player One movie. Like, I think that might be his idea. Like, maybe I'm going a little extreme on that, but that would be my suspicion if I were writing the narrative of his life. I would think that would be the reason why he wants to do it now. But maybe I'm completely baseless, and the movie is just going to be like the BFG, and it's going to be like relatively fun, but not terribly interesting. But who knows? That's
what I'm expecting, honestly. I think you're thinking of him as too much of a character, and if he was a fictional character, I think you're absolutely right. That would be the ideal ending for him. But since he's an actual human being, I think we're gonna get is just a kind of
there's no Charles Foster Kane-esque ending where he's reflecting back on his entire life that way.
Exactly. I don't think this is gonna be his Rosebud.
Which I kind of wish it was, because that'd be way more interesting.
It may be, but it's not.
Did you know that Spielberg owns one of the Rosebud sleds?
One of? How many are there?
There's a few props of it.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Gotta do something with those billions.
Yeah, exactly. But that would be my suspicion. I've been watching a lot of Spielberg movies lately, and I'm supposed to watch one tonight after this. But
Which one?
Catch Me If You Can.
Ah, nice.
I'm in the weird late stage of his career when he's like doing all this random stuff.
It is. The 2000s are so random. Like, he goes from the Terminal to Munich, like back to back.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, Terminal, World of Worlds, and then Munich, then Crystal Skull.
Okay.
Then Tintin.
Oh, that's true. He did War of the Worlds and Munich in 2005.
Same year,
didn't he? I believe so.
Potentially.
That guy is a master of making two fascinating, vastly different movies in the same year.
Yeah. But let's talk about a couple of the other movies that are coming out, because we just spent the last 15 minutes on Ready Player One. I noticed March is a rather congested month for movies this year.
But they all seem pretty uninteresting to me. Like, even Wrinkle in Time, I read the book when I was younger, and I actually really enjoyed the TV movie.
I can't believe you've done this.
What, read it?
We're not allowed to say bad things about Wrinkle in Time.
Why, because of Ava DuVernay?
Shh, don't say things.
I'm saying it.
I'm honest to goodness, the only reason I want to see it is because she did Selma, and she's a very talented director. But like,
she is.
Like, if I just watch the trailer for that, it looks like another Tomorrowland, and Tomorrowland was not a good movie.
It looks like she's in over her head, kind of like Radbird was for Tomorrowland.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a combination of a fever dream with insanely stunt cast characters. Like that's what it looks like. And I'm like, why does it look this way? What is happening? Why is Oprah Winfrey in this movie? And like,
well, she's a producer, I'm assuming.
Well, here's a weird admission from me. Like, I've seen The Color Purple, so I know why she's famous for acting. Like, but I've spent my entire life seeing her on like the Oprah show. So I can't get the pop celebrity version of Oprah out of my head long enough to like see her in a movie and not just think, you get a car and you get a car and you get a car. I'm just how am I supposed to take that like beyond her good performance in The Color Purple and just like she's a serious actress who's trying to do a role? I'm like, there's too much cultural baggage there for me to like think that way. I
think that is a hurdle she's going to have to climb over. I'm trying to think of other examples.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg has done consistently good work, though.
I haven't seen her in like, maybe I'm just missing, but I don't remember her in anything besides Color Purple.
Ghost, Sister Act.
I haven't seen those.
Oh well, you're missing out.
It. But she has that too.
Jumpin' Jack Flash.
I mean, she's on The View, so she has that kind of cultural like that problem too, where she's a pop celebrity too. So, like, I have a hard time. I haven't seen her in a lot of recent movies, but now I think of her on The View more than I think about her in The Color Purple.
I think if I paid any attention to The View or The Oprah Show, I might feel similar.
Well, the only reason I know The View is because it shows. I see segments of it all the time, just like in political discussions. But
sure.
Which again, that doesn't add to the image.
But no, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think yes, that is almost insurmountable image. Like she's Oprah. Like she's so iconic that whatever character she plays, whatever hair and makeup you put her under, it's still going to be Oprah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 46th president of the United States.
Didn't she come out and say that she's not interested?
I hope so. Now? I don't like. Obviously, nowadays, like, the bar for becoming a president is gone, but, like, I don't think that an Oprah Winfrey presidency would be a good thing among all of the possible, like, outcomes. We're already trapped in the Berenstein universe. We don't need to make this world crazier.
Well, it's gonna happen.
Of course it is. We need one more plot twist before Armageddon. So,
well, this is the way history works. We have one extreme, and then society overcorrects, and we have the other extreme.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first communist president of the United States.
Never mind. I almost said something.
Don't make the obvious joke. Please don't make the obvious joke. I don't need the internet.
All I'll say is we've had our fair share of communist-minded presidents in the past.
We don't need the wonderful people of certain political campaigns breathing down my neck right now.
Can I just say that?
No.
Communism isn't all bad.
You're from Poland, aren't you?
And I've seen, obviously, okay, first of all, I'm not from Poland.
I thought Poland hates
American.
communism more than anything else.
You'd be surprised. They harbor ill will towards Russians, understandably so. But the fingerprints of communism, and it's kind of morphed now more into socialism, is still very much a part of Polish culture, and in some ways for the better.
I was letting you talk, but okay. This isn't like this isn't the right venue for this discussion, but that is an interesting point.
No, that's true, and I'm far from the right person to advocate anything.
Where's Tom when we need him?
I know nothing except my own experiences.
Fair point, but what were we talking about before you were discussing your wrong opinions about socialism?
All right. I don't know, probably a wrinkle in time, but I'm ready to move on from that.
I mean, yeah, my comment stands, stunt cast, weird visual effects, but
I think, yeah.
Death of Stalin looks okay.
In over her head.
Have you seen
what
it?
Does?
I want to see that.
Say again?
Death of Stalin.
Oh yeah, I agree. I heard stuff about that since last year. Like, I've been hearing about that for forever.
Well, it's a foreign film.
I thought it was already out.
It's just getting its release. It was a foreign film. It's just getting its release shortly.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Well, it's not a foreign film, is it?
I think it is.
Because there's a bunch of famous actors.
I think it's a French film, actually, but I don't know.
It might be, but I think it's still in English.
It might be, but I just know it wasn't distributed in America yet. So.
Okay.
Beyond that, Tomb Raider.
Not all that interested.
Pacific Rim 2, which I'm stupidly excited to see because I like the
Couldn't
first
be
one.
less interested. I still haven't seen the first one.
It's Guillermo del Toro, so.
Yeah.
I'll
it's
tell you this.
also giant.
I'll tell you this. I have a good story behind that. I went on a double date in high school, or the summer after I graduated, and that was the movie we saw. I didn't know anything about it before going into it, but everyone who saw it with me universally agreed. There's like, wow, that was actually suspenseful, and I didn't expect that was going to be good. And like
that's what I've heard.
That I joined the list of annoying groupies of Pacific Rim. So
I've heard people who expected not to like it enjoyed it, but I think probably because I've heard so much of that, I'll be expecting more than what I'll get.
Yeah, probably.
I think you need to go into that movie with very low expectations to enjoy it.
I don't know if I would agree with that. It's a well done movie, but it's something that surprises you because
fair.
You don't expect it.
It's just not really my cup of tea.
It's a giant monster
I'm not
fighting robot movie. It's not like it's not someone's cup of tea. It's pretty basic.
Exactly. And basic isn't my cup of tea.
I guess. Well, what else is there? Isle of Dogs by Wes Anderson.
Oh, can't wait. Wes Anderson is my favorite director.
It's been way too long since his last film. Like, I remember Grand Budapest Hotel was one of my favorite movies that in 2014, but it's been like 4 years.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that was 2014. Unsane that's Soderbergh, isn't it? I'm looking it up right now.
That was the next thing I was going to bring up because I want to see it. I've been getting into Soderbergh recently. As
well, you should. He's fantastic, and my word, does this look bat crap crazy?
I haven't watched the trailer. I'm kind of going into it blind. I just know it was shot on a phone and stuff like that. So it sounds really interesting.
That might not be a bad way to go into it, because it looks like this movie. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be zigging and zagging all over the place. I can't wait.
I just know that I loved Logan Lucky last year, and everyone told me that the Magic Mike films were excellent. So I'm going into this with relatively high expectations.
Yeah, I also enjoyed Logan Lucky or Redneck Ocean's 11.
Wait, that kind of undersells it, man.
That's exactly what it is.
I mean, it's...
And that's not a bad thing.
It's great.
I love Ocean's 11, and it's still Soderbergh.
Exactly.
It's just a different take of Ocean's 11. He's doing really the same movie in a different way, and I'm okay with that. Say again?
Do you think there'd be a sequel to this one?
To Logan Lucky?
Yeah.
No.
Because it ends
wrapped up in a...
It kind of ends on the same note as the first movie, where one of the characters who got wronged is still not satisfied by the end of it. But...
Being the Andy Garcia character in Ocean's 11.
Yeah, because it kind of has that same ending where it implies like there could be more to the story, but...
I think if he wanted to, he could write another one. I don't think Logan Lucky really made enough money to warrant a sequel, though.
Probably not.
Ocean's 11 was huge because of the cast.
At this point, he's even passed on the Ocean sequels at this point, so... Because Ocean's
try for the better.
Ocean's 8 is coming out this summer, too, so...
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Same director as Seabiscuit, so...
Well, if that's not a selling point, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I looked up his filmography, and it was like... someone told me, it was like, oh, the cast of this movie is great, the director is great, everything about this movie is great. And I'm just like, this is going to be this year's Ghostbusters, isn't it?
I think it'll be better than that.
I don't know. Like
at least it has better hype than that.
Like here's another recent
Gary
movie.
Ross, that's who it is.
Here's another recent movie thought that's going to get me in huge trouble. So I was on team agnostic in terms of the Ghostbusters remake, because I wasn't like fervently anti the concept, but I also didn't really like what I saw. But my general read on the film was that it was strong enough in some points to make the people that demanded it be good happy, and bad enough that if you wanted to hate it, you were going to hate it. And it just turned into that horrifying culture war conversation where everyone's just like, you have to see the new Ghostbusters if you support women in film. And then like within a year, Wonder Woman comes out and it's the biggest movie ever. And then 6 months later, Black Panther comes out and it's the biggest thing ever. And I'm just like, you see, if Ghostbusters had been good, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
It's true. And because of the whole hullabaloo surrounding it, I didn't go see it because I just couldn't care less.
That's kind of why I think it's hilarious, though, because now we have two movies that have just like the entire conversation was consumed by the politics of the movie, and everyone just went to see it and was like, yeah, I went to see it and it was great. And then that's when the conversation ended.
Yeah, unsurprising. Usually people have their opinions made up before they really have any knowledge.
I mean, I literally read an article by one of my favorite film critics wrote an article saying that Black Panther was the most important thing to happen in black cinema since Do the Right Thing, and I'm just like, I have several questions.
I don't know that I entirely disagree. There have obviously been other landmark films in between, but
I mean, I would put Creed higher.
Culturally significant.
I'd put Creed higher on that list than Black Panther.
I think this has hit higher pace than Creed did.
I still think Creed's going to be the one that's like Ryan Coogler's masterpiece.
I agree that I think Creed is a better movie, but I think if Black Panther is more culturally impacting.
There's also the fact that it's a Marvel movie and it was going to sell out regardless. So
exactly, and it's exceeding even that.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely upper echelon. Like I'm not crapping on Black Panther because I really liked it.
I'm not talking about the quality, and nor do I think that Film Critic was either. I think they're just saying culturally, the cultural impact really hasn't been touched since He Says Do the Right Thing. I don't know about that. I'd have to think about it. I really don't think of things in terms like that very often.
Sure. I just think that it's one of those things where the cultural conversation is getting a little bit taken away by the politics of it when everyone pretty much universally agrees that they liked it. So,
well, of course. Again, this surprising no one.
It's like that great line from The Simpsons. It's like, what happened to your band? Did you do that thing that the Beatles did and try to get in trouble because you said you were bigger than Jesus? And it's like, no, we said that all the time. That was literally the title of our third album, and they shows a copy of the album, Bigger Than Jesus, sellout album. But yeah,
Simpsons already did it.
But yeah, I think that covers all of the major March releases. Like, then April's relatively dry. There's that Chappaquiddick movie, which is probably going to cause this fascinating cultural conversation. And
and now,
huh?
I was just going to say, April's not entirely barren anymore. Now that Infinity War got bumped up for some reason.
I was going to say, are you excited for everyone's new most anticipated movie, Rampage, starring The Rock?
Ugh. Am I the only one in the world that doesn't get to sing the hype over Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
I agree, but it has nothing to do with him as a performer. It has everything to do with the fact that he picks the worst movies.
Jumanji was good. I really enjoyed Jumanji, but he wasn't the...
Forgive me for thinking that Jumanji was not going to be a good movie from looking at the trailer.
No, you're right, but it was actually a lot of fun, and Jack Black was hilarious. He was a standout for me.
I want Jack Black to come back more because he's been in Nacho Libre mode for the past decade and a half, and I'm just like, oh, come back. We need more view in this culture.
We need high fidelity Jack Black.
I would settle with King Kong Jack Black, to be honest.
No, nobody wants that Jack Black.
But he's not a bad dramatic performer though.
But that's just, he shouldn't.
I don't know. Like if he's an actor, he has to find like the right script for him. But he's perfect in those movies. He's great in School of Rock.
Of course, yeah.
That's probably his masterpiece, but I don't know. Like,
I mean, a lot of people love Nacho Libre. I don't get it, but
that movie probably wouldn't be popular if it came out now. Or it would be senselessly controversial.
It was one of those mid-2000s Napoleon Dynamite hot rod type of weird cultural phenomenon.
That nowadays that would be considered cultural appropriation, and Jack Black could be run out of Hollywood.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't fly.
Oh, the times they are changing. But yeah, Infinity War got pushed up a week, which is fascinating.
Exactly. Do you have any clue why?
Probably because they could, and probably because they wanted to make the release on the same day, wide, like globally, because there's probably some sort of big plot twist involved, and they're afraid it's going to leak.
Oh, that's possible. That's actually really smart. I didn't think about that.
Or there's just the practical concern that it's going to be releasing against Deadpool and Solo, and they didn't want 3 Disney movies out in 1 month.
Is Deadpool officially a Disney movie now?
It's a Fox movie, and I don't know if Fox is owned by Disney yet, but they're probably going to be getting at least some of the money from it, so it would be diverting attention from them.
Yeah, May is absolutely loaded.
There's a very real possibility that Deadpool is going to 2 is going to cut into Solo's profits for the first weekend.
I don't see Deadpool 2 making nearly the splash that the first one did, even if it's good.
I mean, I suspected it's at least going to relatively match the first one, because that first one hit like a real huge cultural nerve. Like I would be surprised if the sequel doesn't at least get some of that back.
But I think because Deadpool is so much about shock value, people who did not know about Deadpool going in, Deadpool blew their minds.
But here's the thing,
I think this one, people will know what they're expecting. They'll go in They'll enjoy it. They'll come out. I don't think there will be as many repeat viewings as there was with the first one.
They booked the John Wick director, though. It's possible that they're actually going to go for trying to do something a little more dramatically weighty this time around, and that might be the saving grace.
Dramatic weight is not exactly the MO of the John Wick directors.
Well, like I kind of see what they're doing with the Cable story. It looks like they're doing like a Terminator homage, where it's going to be like you have one character who's serious all the time and he's getting annoyed by Deadpool. If they could make that work and actually have like a serious dramatic threat that Deadpool has to try to solve, that you could make that into like a legitimately great movie.
No, it's true. I don't doubt that it'll be a good movie. And in the comics, Cable and Deadpool are a perfect duo. Like, you can't get a better straight man, crazy man than that. But I just don't think it'll make the amount of money that Deadpool did, especially with Solo opening the week after. Solo will just castrate Deadpool as soon as it opens.
We'll see, because there's a lot of backlash against Solo already starting to build. So,
but that people are still going to see it, even just to hate on it.
Well, exactly. But we're gonna have to see how this plays out, because there's a good chance that, like, now that Infinity War is pushed back, and that's not going to be cutting into the profits after 3 weeks. There's a very real chance that like those two movies are just going to go at it, and one of them's going to suffer as a result. I don't know which one it's going to be yet, honestly, because there's a good chance it could really be either one.
I think they might cut each other off at the knees.
That's also a possibility. Like, we could have that rare scenario where the coin lands on its side.
I think that'll kind of be a pretty big loss for Disney. Not loss, but
they're losing.
They
profits.
could have gotten more. Yeah.
Well, the Deadpool movies aren't super expensive, so that's probably not going to be the one that causes the problem. And I think that they're kind of writing off Solo at the moment, because they know that they didn't like the Phil Lord and Christopher Miller's cut of it. So who knows?
I think it's hilarious how they were. I think I'm trying to remember who said it, but I heard that like Disney was banking so much on Episode 8 to crush that they could really do whatever they want with Solo, and fans would still be on a Star Wars high. So, even if Solo was, whatever, or they took a couple of weird risks with it, fans would still be on board. Now, because fans are kind of already straddling the fence, if Solo, stumbles at all, fans are going to just riot.
I suspect that they're going to have to do like...
Solo will suffer because Episode 8 was controversial.
There's going to be a lot of people saying Star Wars is dead after Solo comes out.
There's a lot of people that are wrong.
Well, I agree. I'm fine with the Disney Star Wars thing. Like, I know there's people who are like, I can't handle a movie a year, man. It's just ruining it, man. Like, no, I don't care. They're not rushing these films individually. They're clearly writing them out years in advance. It's not like if they were rushing them out, they would have done the 3 Rey and like the 3 main series Star Wars movies is like one after the other.
They would have done it. Yeah, they would have done it Hobbit style.
Yeah, if they were rushing it, that's how they would have done it. Instead, they're taking 2 to 3 years and refining the scripts as they're going along.
Yeah, I mean, Disney is great at finding these production heads like Kevin Feige for Marvel and Kathleen Kennedy for Star Wars that just have a clear vision for what they're going to do, and they're not afraid to make us wait. Although Disney, I think, is starting to push them and being all right, let's tell the next chapter before people get bored. But I'm
not as confident in Kathleen Kennedy as I am with Kevin Feige. And obviously, Kathleen Kennedy, if you go, her production credits go back all the way to the 70s, so it's not like she's not an experienced filmmaker. But like, I'm not sure how much she's like. I'm not sure what her creative direction is in terms of where she wants to take this. I'm fine with her being the person doing all this, but you can tell that she's clearly has some sort of an ego, and she's butting heads with a lot of her creatives, and that bothers me a lot. That keeps happening. Like, obviously, Feige.
It's interesting that you say that.
Feige's obviously has that to some degree, so I'm not just saying that to her against. It's not obviously not just her, but Feige has only ruined a couple of 2 or 3 of his 20 movies by his creative decisions, and her decisions have clearly caused several of the few movies she's already made to get substantially changed, and I'm curious if that's going to keep being a problem going forward.
I think it's interesting that you say that, because I think Kathleen Kennedy may have given a little too much director say to Rian Johnson for episode 8.
To Johnson, yes. I absolutely love the fact that she did that. I think that was the best thing she should have done. But in the case of the solo stories,
I think made a great movie, but it kind of handcuffed her for episode 9.
The problem is she keeps reining in all the solo movies, or the Star Wars stories. Those are the ones that she really should take the reins off of. Like, if they're gonna have like the reins on anything, it should be their main titles, where they have to be like consistent and they have to continue like the legacy. But she really reined in Rogue One, and she's really reining in Solo: A Star Wars Story, and I'm like, that's a weird place to be like constricting the franchise.
Yeah, I would agree.
Those are the ones you should give to people who are really risky, and to let them just go completely hog wild and take enormous risks.
At the same time, if people just riot, if they absolutely hate a standalone Star Wars movie, that will seriously affect the trilogy films.
Not necessarily, because if those films so far have not had anything to do with the main story, for the most part.
It doesn't matter. It's still got the name Star Wars plastered all over it.
Less so with
people
the Star Wars story films, though.
People carry that ill will into the saga films, and vice versa.
I just think that it's more important that they get the main numbered films better. Like, if as long as you keep those consistent, people aren't going to be as mad as if you mess up Solo or Rogue One. But if
I agree.
If you add more of the numbered films and those continue to mount and get worse, then you're ruined. Like, if episode 9 comes out and it's just on an unrelenting train wreck, then everyone's going to give up on this.
Yeah, you're right.
That's obviously why they brought Abrams back, because Abrams directed Force Awakens pretty good. So they're going with the option that's going to be relatively safe. It'll cool heads for a couple months until they can get that Obi-Wan spinoff underway, and then they can kind of start taking more risks again.
I think because of the way episode 8 was directed, and he kind of did so many FUs to episode 7. Yeah. I think episode 9 has the potential to be either absolutely outstanding with the creative decisions that are made, or I think what's more likely, it's going to absolutely tank because Rian Johnson left it with very few places to go.
I suspect what's going to happen is that Abrams is probably going to resurrect a couple of the things he wanted to do with episode 7 and 8, and that's
not going to mesh with the actual episode 8 that we got.
Well, he'll probably rewrite it so that maybe they'll retroactively explain what Snoke was, or they'll retroactively change Rey's parentage or something like that.
Which is a horrible idea.
Which I would agree. I completely agree. Like, if I were to do this, to rewrite the Snoke lineage thing, all I would do is here's the convoluted scene in my brain right now. We find out that Snoke was actually a clone of Palpatine, and we find out by Kylo Ren going to like this enormous room full of like clones of him, and he just destroys all of them. It's like, this is the place where he was cloned. Stab, 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 stab. Never again. Okay, I'm the bad guy officially now.
That sounds like a laughable scene.
I mean, that's just me spitballing ideas, but that
it's done poorly. I suppose it could be done well. If done poorly, that could be extremely laughable.
They're gonna have
I was just picturing the way that would be portrayed in the prequels, I guess.
They'd have to throw in at least some throwaway line to explain what Snoke is, because obviously Abrams cared enough about that character that he wanted it to be who he was to be a big deal. But
I don't know. I think that's something that fans just kind of extrapolated.
Well, yeah,
much like race parentage.
Yeah, but my only problem is that you have an enormously powerful Force user that doesn't have a backstory. Like, obviously, it's not the most important thing, and you could probably just kind of write him off, but the fact that he's there is just kind of confusing.
But did the Emperor need a backstory? He got one in the prequels, but nobody was really clamoring for it.
The Emperor works because he's implied to be the source of the Empire from the beginning, and he's teased slightly in Empire Strikes Back. But the difference is the new trilogies take place in a universe where all that stuff already happened, and he's essentially supposed to be another Emperor. So not explaining what he is at least a little bit more confusing than it would have been with Palpatine. Hello?
No, sorry, I'm still here. I'm getting a little sleepy.
It's fine. We can kind of wrap up because we're an hour and a half into this.
Yeah, we've covered a wide variety of topics.
Yeah, and we covered basically every major movie coming out through May, so.
Between Star Wars and Bill Cosby, feels like 2015 again.
Oh, the horror. It's the current year all over again.
Extreme cyclical. What are you gonna do?
It's always the current year.
You've always been the caretaker.
All right, let's kind of call it quits then. I'm ready to start watching Catch Me If You Can. So.
Fair enough. I'll let you do that. I'm ready to go to sleep.
I gotta go back to enjoying my lovely Tivana tea. White peppermint chocolate you can't buy anymore. All right. Have a good night, man.
You too. Thanks for doing this.
Sure thing.
Bye.